I'm Allie Zendrian, founder of A to Z Communications, and this is the Brand Stories podcast. We'll be talking with Mark Matatov of Braca Designs. He does website design, among other things. We had a wide-ranging conversation with everything from is direct mail dead to email marketing campaigns to the best way to design your website. I hope you find this helpful. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us on the Brand Stories podcast. This is the one where we discuss everything branding, and I immediately felt like, as the website guru who has already helped me a little bit with my own presence, although I could use a little bit more help. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much for doing this with me and taking the time. Really appreciate it.
First question is just to have everybody thinking about branding, what your favorite brand is and why.
So just off the top of my head, like the first thing I thought about was Apple, right? Which I'm sure people have said before. And it's really, I think because it's so design driven, and so it's not just about looking good or just about a certain product. It's really about a whole experience. They really want you to feel a certain way with their products. They want you to feel like you're a certain social class of people. There's so much psychological and creative thought put behind every one of their products that it's almost like a cult following. I mean, they've really perfected the idea that you need a phone every year, which you really don't, but people swear by this stuff. You know, Johnny Ives and everything he's done just from a creative point of view, and then with Steve Jobs and now Tim Cook, they've really created something that when a brand becomes like a lifestyle, that's when you've really succeeded. That's probably the more obvious answer. Another one I was thinking of, I don't know if you've seen this guy on TikTok. He's been kind of an ongoing sensation. LDC Signs. He kind of does this new thing that a lot of people are doing. It's this like international sign company. They're in China somewhere. It's this one guy. It's just these like really cheap done TikTok videos. But the genius thing is he does this like shock value, where like the first thing you see when someone scrolls is like a completely different video. He just kind of then like offsets it with some like kind of comical thing. It's a little bit edgy at some times for some people, but I find it hilarious, and it stops you from scrolling, which I think today when everything is so information driven and everyone's looking at so much stuff at once, to be able to successfully stop someone from scrolling and take the time to look at your stuff, you've already hooked them in.
I will have to look that up. When you said LDC, I immediately thought of Lorianne Diulio-Casdia. Signs. But yes, I will have to look that up. I think it was really cool what you said about stopping the scrolling, because that's exactly really what you're helping businesses to do. If you don't mind orienting everybody, what kind of work do you do and how do you do it?
Yeah, sure. I specialize in web design. It's really more than that, because anyone could just get kind of like a nice, pretty site design today with like a template. It's really about the whole marketing behind it. So it's not just web design, it's really developing your online presence with web design, with a thought out Google business profile. And with that comes digital marketing. So like how people find you. So those are all kind of things that we do, as well as just traditional design. So like logo design, brochures, things that a business needs to really get their brand out there. Those are all kind of things we help with.
Great. So how did you get into this field? I take it you were a design guy. Back in the day, you were like very artsy, craftsy.
Yes, I liked art since I was like 3-4 years old. So there's pictures of me doodling with my markers. So I've always been very artsy, always very creative. I used to like collect comic books, and what I would do is I would like look at a page and then just like try to copy it, draw it. So I used to love drawing, painting. While I was still in high school, I did a summer at the School of Visual Arts, SVA, in the city. And I went to Pratt Institute for college in Brooklyn. At that point, I was kind of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So at that, I did know that I wanted to do something creative, which is why I went to an art school. I just didn't know how to make money out of it. I knew I wasn't going to do that with like drawing or painting. I wasn't that good. I even tried like 3D animation for a while. It just wasn't what I was passionate about. But then I kind of discovered graphic design and marketing, and I really fell in love with it. So I started doing a lot of that. When I graduated college, I found a job with a media company doing those things. And then over time, I started freelancing and doing these kind of gigs for different companies for postcards and brochures and business cards. And a lot of them started asking for web design, and that wasn't really something I ever considered. So because it was such a common thing that I was asked of, and I didn't want to say, yeah, I could do it and then not be able to do it. I went ahead and just started teaching myself how to do it and really learning about it. Had to like learn HTML, CSS, and how a lot of the stuff is done. And I built my own site, got comfortable with some like smaller sites, and was learning it to the point where I felt comfortable doing it, and just kind of took off from there. It's nice because a lot of these web development guys are not the most creative guys, so they could do all kinds of crazy code and stuff, but they're not really going to make anything that looks visually appealing. So it was kind of nice to have like a creative background and like marry the two skills together. And so I think that's why I've been able to be as successful as I have, and been able to do this for as long as I have. It's been, I think this is 13 years or something or
Wow.
so. So yeah, quite a while.
Oh, congratulations. You have a little teenager.
Oh God, yeah. I have real teenagers too.
Well, yes, yes. Those two, yes.
Those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you mentioned it, so I was thinking postcard. Do you feel like direct mail is kind of dead, or are people still interested in the physical designed pieces?
I don't think it's dead at all. In fact, I've been noticing more requests for it than usual. And I think there's just something to say about getting mail, having something in your hand. It's still very much a thing. What I do tell clients when they do want to do a postcard campaign is it's like anything else, like being online. You don't want to just be in a pile of mail that's forgettable. So you want to do something that when someone's going through their mail, there's a reason why they stop and they look at that card that you sent. So the design is really important. The size is really important. The kind of paper you use. So definitely not dead. And it's funny. There's been more of it as of late.
I could see that because at the same time, I feel like our email inboxes are getting so spammed. It seemed
Oh
like
yeah.
it sort of went from the, you're getting every piece of mail to this shift to the other. It's in a pendulum.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you make a great point. We've become already just so numb to all these emails that we get that I must hit delete on 95% of my emails before I ever even bother to open them. Yeah. Good point.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're better than I. I just basically leave them in my inbox and then get annoyed when it's like 90,000 new. Look, at this point, I'm not dealing with it. So, well, as far as so website design, so as I mentioned, you've been generous enough to help me a little bit and give me some tips. Full transparency, I did a Squarespace design because it was just cheap and I felt like, heck, I needed something done. How would you advise business owners as they're thinking about starting my business? I know that I need a website and an online presence. What are the factors that they need to consider?
I would first say that when you start a business, you have a lot of expenses like anything else. I really don't think that a website falls under that category. Yes, it's an expense, you are paying for it, but it is one of the things that when done right, it's an investment. It's going to be making you money. It really is a valuable tool. And so I wouldn't cheap out on it. And I understand if people are on certain budgets. So starting with a Wix site or Squarespace site, where a lot of it is kind of done for you or like done with templates. That's fine, in the beginning, but you want to keep in mind that you're opening a business. There's probably 24 people opening that exact same kind of business in your area using that same template, those same ideas. How are you going to stick out? Especially, how are you going to be in competition with those guys who've spent the money to make those big websites? Your website, a lot of the time, like 90% of the time, is going to be the first impact, the first impression that someone gets of you. So you want to make sure that you have a good first impression, and you want to make sure that when someone is on your website, that your message is clear and that you hook them and that you get that call or that email. Again, when it's done properly and you're getting leads from your website, it pays for itself with time. I would say that, with the limited amount of money that most business owners have to start, I would really consider allocating what they need to get themselves a decent website. Anything that's going to generate them money is what they should be putting their money towards, right?
How would you encourage people to think about the fact that, like you said, a website, when it's really done right, could be a lead generator? That, yes, you might be getting business from, whether they're referrals, whether it's social media, wherever it is, but you'd be shooting yourself in the foot if you didn't give yourself that extra resource of a website.
I look at it as it's your salesperson that's working for you 24/7. So rather than you sitting there and having to make cold calls or go online and try to figure out how to get people or hire someone to be your sales agent, imagine your day is done, you're sleeping, it's 2 a.m. and you wake up and there's in your inbox, there's a lead. Because someone happened to look at your website, they liked what they saw and they were interested in you. Right there, who wouldn't want that, right? So when a website's done correctly, those are the type of things you can get. Either way, you're paying for something. It's either you're paying for your time to go and get those leads yourself, you're paying someone money to go and get them for you, or you're going to be paying for a website. So where does it make the most logical sense to allocate those limited funds you have. For me, just having someone that works 24/7, that never gets tired, that doesn't need benefits, that doesn't need doesn't call in sick, that sounds pretty nice to me.
Heck yeah. That's the perfect way to explain it. So, what do you feel like is the marriage between, the website from a design perspective looking beautiful and whatnot versus, then you've also got the text and having that done the right way. And then on the third side, having SEO and then making sure that it points back to you. How do you marry all those things together and say design wise, it's aesthetically beautiful? Your CTA is in the right spot. It's a lot of things to manage.
At the end of the day, it's like I said, it's a sales tool, and sales is very psychological, right? There's been studies done of whether you put the text on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, what gets more calls, whether they use one font or another, what certain colors work better than other. There's a lot of psychology behind that most people who try to design the sites themselves, or maybe who are newer in the industry, and they just don't know a lot of these marketing. So that's all very important when it comes to building out a site. It can't just be something that looks pretty, because honestly, nowadays, most sites look pretty just because you have these templates. Most people can learn these things, but it really comes down to, the whole marketing aspect of the website is like you said, is your call to action in the right place? What is your call to action? Is it something broad? Does the person know what to do when they're on the website? Is the website, naturally leading them from, being interested to calling you? What's the hook? What is the point of these images? You mentioned SEO, search engine optimization, is very important. That's basically how Google decides whether you're going to rank in certain search results compared to other people, to other companies. So super important, because you could have the best site in the world, you could have the best offer in the world, but if no one knows you exist, now what, right? And it's not enough anymore just to have a website. Really, all these different pillars of marketing have to work together, between SEO, social media management, what you do with PR. They all kind of work hand in hand. I get a lot of questions. Hey, where should I put my marketing dollars? And I tell them everywhere, and see what sticks, and double down on that, because there's so many different ways out there to let people know that you exist. And you gotta try a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And like you said, so ideally, if anybody could spread out that money, because like you said, social media is incredibly important. The website's very important. Your CTA, do you feel like, is that from the marketing or branding person who is doing that? Do you help develop those call to actions? How does that work?
We typically take care of those things for the client. Sometimes they'll have a marketing person come on board, and we'll work hand in hand together.
Nice.
A lot of times, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, they just hand it all off to us, and it's just one person taking care of everything for them.
So what do you feel like are the biggest things that you've noticed as far as website faux pas that people might not realize? You think that you're doing this very intelligently, and then all of a sudden this is not helping you at all.
A lot of people like to have sliders on their websites for big videos, and those look really nice, but they also bog down your website. They make it load longer. Typically, those things don't help. There's been research done that most people will never even slide through your sliders. If you have any important information on those slides, chances are people haven't even looked at them. So I would say that's something that's been going away over time. Some other issues I see are just silly things. I don't see call to actions. I don't see a phone number. If I have to click more than once to find your contact information, I don't have the patience anymore, and most people don't. I'm just going to the next competitor. You want to make it so stupid simple to reach you out. I use the analogy a lot that, let's just say you go and you're buying a car, and the salesman comes up to you and goes, "Hey, how are you, Allie? I have this great car I think you're going to love, and here's why you're going to love it, and it has all the features you need, and here's how much it costs." And then they just sit there and they go, it's like, well, now what? What do you want me to do? So just not having a call to action. I see that so much. The other thing I see is just websites that try to do everything, that just have huge blocks of text that looks like you're reading the Bible, and nobody reads anymore. We skim, we kind of go through what's important to us, and we're kind of all over the place. Yeah. Because we have information being thrown at us from so many different ways, through email, through social media, through TV and everything, we've just become numb to these things. So we need whatever information we want. We need it within seconds. And if we don't get that, and if I don't know what you're doing, if I don't know how you're doing it, how you're benefiting me, and then how to contact you, you've lost me. And so many websites I see fail that most basic thing, getting that information clearly and quickly to the prospective client.
Yeah. I was kind of giggling at first because among the things that you advised me about, I had one of those sliders, and I felt like that was my, gosh, I'm getting all fancy, look at me. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not going to spend the time to do it. So if I won't do it, why would I think anybody who would work with me would do it?
And I had it too on my older website, so we're all guilty. It was cool while it lasted.
Yes. What are the best ways that people can work with you? Should they just sort of approach you, look, I have this issue and I need a new logo, or I need a, or what's the best way to do that?
I mean, it really depends on what they're looking to do, whether they're just starting out, opening up a business, or they've been doing it for like 5, 10 years, whatever. I mean, we've dealt with it all. So what I like to do is just have a quick call or quick consultation and just get an idea of what they're looking for. Really try to understand what their goals are, and then I'll kind of suggest what they need to do from there. A lot of times, I get a phone call, or message on Facebook just about their website not working out for them, and sometimes I'll look through it and I'll say, listen, I think the reason why it's not working is because you're missing X, Y, and Z. And then just doing that, it'll be a quick fix. And other times it'd be like, this is so far gone. There's no point trying to save it. Let's refresh. And here's what I think we should do.
Speaking to that, if somebody is married to their website name, can you take that and then bring it over to something that's actually aesthetically pleasing versus trying, like you said, to craft something that then, is garbage and you're putting nice stuff on top of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never want to let your domain name go, especially if you've had it for a long time. It is part of your brand. It is part of what people should hopefully know. And it's good for search engine optimization because the longer you've had that domain, Google sees that as authoritative domain. So I would never let a domain go to get another domain. So whenever we do website rebrands or refreshes, what we'll usually do is just take that domain name simply enough and just point it to wherever servers the new website is.
And then as far as websites, do you feel like there's an optimal page number? Should people be trying to like put the blog on there, put some photos up there, or is it like, look, you need like 2 pages and let's call it a day?
Good question. Some people like to do like one-page websites, and the way I look at it is like this: the more stuff you're putting out there for Google to crawl,
Yep.
the more ways people will find you. So I generally like to do websites between like 5 and 15 pages, and that might sound like a lot, but what I like to do is I like to break out the services into their own sub-service pages. So let's just say with what I do, right? With design. So I can have a page for web design. I could have a page for graphic design, a page for postcard design. I like to have sub-pages for those things. That way a person gets to read only what they're interested in rather than having to scroll through stuff they're not interested in. And like I said, Google likes that too. So I think usually 5 to 10, 5 to 15 pages, I think is a good number.
And then, so selfish last question, or
Yeah,
second to last question anyway. Do you feel like from an SEO perspective that when you get a news article, let's say that you're featured in the local paper and wherever, does that help more from an SEO perspective? Is it that ranks the same as your website, so it really doesn't make a difference? How does that feed into your overall findability?
Those are actually great if in their article, they link back to your article. That's called a backlink. And when Google sees that other websites, especially big websites like a news publication websites that get hundreds of thousands of visitors a day, if you're getting links from those websites back to your website, Google sees that as a big plus. That shows Google that you are an authoritative domain, and that'll boost your rankings way up. So yeah, those are great, and definitely try to get more of those.
Got it. And then the last question. So if everybody's listening to us right now and they're like, gosh, my brand, my website is just not at all where I want it to be, what should they be doing?
In general, if you're not happy with it, then reach out to me. I'm happy to take a look at it and just give you my advice. In general, you do want to try to update your brand every 5 to 7 years. That doesn't mean that it has to be like a huge like logo change, or sometimes just simple tweaks, kind of just to stay current with design trends. Just so that when people are seeing you, they're not thinking, this company looks like it was built in the 90s. Do I want, are they still in business? So it's always good to just, anytime you just update every 5 to 7 years, a small refresh in most cases is fine. And then, I would say take a look at what your competition is doing. Take a look at what they're doing. If they're using all these new features that you're not, maybe it's time to start thinking about that. If they're using certain styles, or if their website just went through a major refresh, maybe it's time to start thinking about what you can do.
Very good point. Well, thank you so much for all this great advice, and I hope a lot of people will come over to your business.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. Thanks. This is fun.
Yay. Well, we'll have to do it again then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. All the best, Allie. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.